If your people are not already doing it, they should implement the dollar a day strategy.
Yeah.
That's the one that I came up with 14 years ago. You can target all the people that meet the criteria, 5 million in sales and whatnot, and people who are VPs or above, or whatever the particular role is. Do it on LinkedIn, do it on Facebook, combine it with Clearbit or the other sorts of targeting. It's using social media networks, but doing B2B lead gen. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the Coach U Show, where we interview successful entrepreneurs and get inside their minds. Today, we have Paul Okhrem, who is a managing partner of eLogic, and he runs his e-commerce company out of Ukraine. And he's got a strong message about what it's like being in Ukraine right now. I can't imagine all the craziness, Paul, and a message that he has on working with other people in Ukraine. So guys, stay tuned. I'm excited to hear what's actually going on the ground. Paul, welcome.
Thanks for letting me into your podcast. And maybe let's start with the formal beginning of how the war started and how it seems to wake up when there is a war going on. Basically, as you said, I'm the managing partner of eLogic Commerce. And even though right now I'm in Ukraine because of our people, but the story is that our company has its roots in Ukraine. Then we moved our headquarters to Tallinn, Estonia. But however, we're 150 employees right now. Most of the people are located in Ukraine. Those are engineers, because Eastern Europe is famous for their engineers and engineering talent. And I was about to open up one more office in the western part of the country because we were expanding rapidly. So to give you the understanding, we're growing 100% every year, which is huge. And a friend of mine, a friend from my childhood, he gave me a call at 5 a.m. And you know this feeling when you're still sleepy and you don't realize what's happening. And there was a message that the war began. And the first thing that I realized that this voice was, I would say, he was scary and he was afraid, and his voice was shaking, literally. It wasn't the regular call that you would get from your friend. Then my second idea was to read the news, because basically it was very interesting to understand what's really happening on the ground. And the first news read that the war began, and because the country was bombing at 5:40 a.m. or something like that. My second idea was that I need to get all my there is, how do you call it, the alarming case that you should get with your documents and all your things ready, because you don't know what's happened, what will be happening next. That was my second idea, and it was 6 a.m. already, and I said, okay, I need to get my things. My passport, some amount of money, and power banks, because you don't know what to realize. Even though, we started to prepare to the war weeks ago because we had this business continuity plan and stuff. But the first thing is that you don't realize that it's happening somewhere else. Your first idea that in an hour you'll get soldiers up front of your house or an apartment or a hotel, and you don't know what to do next. So that's how it all started. Basically.
How did you know where you would like to go? When there's a war, right? There's no rules. They can invade, they can bomb anywhere. And you have people all over, right? Mostly in the western side of Ukraine.
The first idea was to go to the border, because we successfully relocated the part of our team to Romania already, because our offices are located in 4 cities of Ukraine. Those are near the border. And the first idea is that you need to get into your car and go to the border, because you don't know what will happen next. However, there is a second downside of the war, is that you start to be afraid of your car being burned or something like that. You don't realize if it's safe to go to the border. But after 3 hours, I finally got a coffee, because to understand what to do, I read some news and understood that it's still safe on the western part of the country. And then I decided that, okay, it's safe. I've started to think of the continuity, because we still had some employees that were on the ground. And as a leader, it's very important to give the message to your people so they understand what to do next, because we had the plan, like the evacuation plans and all that stuff. And that was the thing that I did once I understood that there's no need to panic.
How did you spread the word or manage across your leadership team? If you have 150 people, that's a lot of people to manage and coordinate.
First of all, we have, a lot of our managers are still located outside of the country, because we have an office in Tallinn, Estonia, where we have the managers. Also, we have the human resource managers who are responsible for the units that we have. They were coordinating the units. And we have this chat of the heads of delivery centers, of the managers, where we were coordinating together. But as a leader, it's still very important for you to give the message to the team.
Yeah. Paul, how has this affected your business?
I mean, so we had some contracts that we were about to sign, and some of them put it on hold for a few weeks. Now we're backed up because we've opened temporary offices in Romania and Poland. Some of our people were okay there. All of our partners are sure that everything will be going on. And as of right now, we're hiring because we understand that there are some less fortunate people, even in Ukraine, that relocated from Kharkiv, from Kiev, and from regions that were affected. And even though we could have still remained the same size, we decided that we need to support the people that are less fortunate and lost their jobs.
I'd love to hear more about that.
Yeah, because as you can imagine, there were a few kinds of people that lost their jobs. First type of people is the companies that had offices in the cities where they were actually started. They began with allocating from the regions. And of course, even though we're in IT space and a lot of people are working remotely, but there were companies that didn't have strong position on what was happening. That's very important that you have a clear statement upfront to your people that you call a war with a word war, and that you take the immediate action. Because, for example, we had some customers who were working with companies from Russia, and we got the meetings with them instantly. And we said, okay, you need to decide whether you quit working with those people or will. Because there are some cases where it's not about business, it's about principles, it's about feeling of yourself. That was very important for us. Then we did publish our mission statement that we understand that in the wartime, our main mission is to remain stable, to pay taxes, and to support the army, because the part of our income is going to support the army. That's type number one of the companies. Then there are other companies that didn't create the proper relocate plan to their people and their leaders. They just disappeared. As a person, when you have your family, when you have your colleagues and no one is taking care of them, it's very important to get this support. And that's the type of companies that also disappeared or partially disappeared. Then there are some friend of ours that were losing customers because they were located in Kharkiv, for instance. And we even gave them some projects and leads for free, because it's not about the business anymore. It was about supporting our competitors.
Wow. That is an incredibly brave and dignified move. I have a lot of friends that run software companies in the Ukraine, as you mentioned, right? Strong IT hub. I have friends at SEMrush. I'm on their customer advisory board, and they have not only a lot of employees in the Ukraine, but a lot in Russia. And I have a lot of friends that are in Russia. And of course, countries like ours in the United States have imposed sanctions on Russian companies. What is your stance towards maybe other friends or employees or business partners that are in Russia?
Well, I've got a lot of relatives there, and some of the relatives disappointed me much because they didn't have any position and they were like repeating the words of the propaganda. However, for example, I have a friend that we used to work on we were consulting a company from LA. They're a big activewear merchant, and there was an architect who called me right away and told me that their government is insane and he doesn't understand why that happens. Yeah. It's more or less about the position of people.
Their position.
So I have a friend who's an architect in the big consulting company in the United States, and he lives in the United States and he has a Russian passport, and we're like close friends. It doesn't mean that we'll be working or we work with Russian companies, but still there are people that are pretty clear and have their understanding of the situation.
What do you say?
There were companies. There is one public company that is one of the top 5 software engineering companies in the country that didn't want to call the war a war. And they didn't want to fire people in their Russian office. They were saying that it's about politics, not about the situation. And a lot of Ukrainian employees quit their company.
Almost like you can't win either way, because if you declare the war a war and you're in Russia, then you could potentially open yourself up to being targeted, right? But at the same time, I have friends that own companies and they say we are going to fire all the Russian employees and any kind of contractors that are Russian, we're going to get rid of them. To which what I said to them was, well, these are individual people, right? It should be, you said, it should be up to them on do they support the war or what is their position, instead of let's just fire all the Russians, because we're not, I don't run a country. I run a company just you do, building software. I felt it was more about individually what people are doing. But
Well,
what do you say? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, there are a few points on that one. So there are people, and I have friends who support this idea that if you support Russian companies, then they're paying taxes there, and that affects the war because that's sponsoring the war. And then there is another point of view which says that it's still about the people, and if the people have the right understanding of the situation, it's still okay to work with them. But it's very tricky because I realized that I wouldn't work with Russian people anymore on the projects or to cooperate with companies that have Russian employees, because a lot of people that I know that even have their vision, they wouldn't go out and say, well, what are you doing? They would rather stay calm because they say that it will affect their families and it will affect their well-being. But yeah, that's not how democracy should work.
Yeah, that is a difficult situation. What does this mean for software companies in Ukraine going forward? What is going to happen, do you think?
Well, there are a few things that are very important. First of all, of course, there are customers that quit or started to look for engineers somewhere else, because at the end of the day, it's business and it's about diversifying risks. I believe in the hybrid model that if the company has offices in Europe and Ukraine, it's still safe, because look at Israel. They're having the war for years now, and they have a lot of brilliant engineering talent and engineering companies. Yeah. It's still safe. Well, and of course, it depends on the region, because, for example, Kyiv wasn't safe, but now it's pretty much safe. Kharkiv is still affected, where they had a lot of engineering talent. A lot of engineers relocated to the western part of the country. Some of them relocated to Europe. We have a big part of our team who relocated to our European offices. It's pretty much about the geography. The more diversified the geography is, the better it is for the engineering talent.
Yeah, fair enough. Just Google or SEMrush, they have offices all over the world. That's great. What are your
keeping operations?
Yeah. What are you hearing from other clients and partners?
Well, it depends on the geography again, because, for example, European customers seem to be better at what's happening, and they seem to be more realistic about the geography, because, for example, for a lot of American customers, they don't realize that there is a western part of the country and there is in the east where everything's going on. Because, to tell the truth, the war is going on for 8 years already. It's not something that appeared from 24th February. Yeah, so it was on the east, it was going on, and it probably will still be for some time there. And geographically, European customers are easier to deal with it. For example, we've seen some customers that were trying to set up delivery centers in Latin America. And we, even ourselves, we were trying to hire talent there, and there's still a difference between the talent level from what we can see. So of course it's different. You can say that, for example, talent in Africa is worse than talent in Ukraine. Definitely not. But if you take the average level is still different.
Well, Paul, especially in what you guys do, Magento and other e-com, isn't Magento the main developers, aren't they, in the Ukraine?
Basically, the Adobe Commerce, or Magento, how it was formerly called Magento, it was founded in Ukraine by two Americans. They had delivery center in Ukraine. And if you go to look at Adobe Commerce engineers country-wise, you will see that the biggest number of engineers are located in Ukraine, then Romania, then probably Belarus and Bulgaria. Then you would go to see them where else? Portugal. So, but however, the numbers are, for example, 5K engineers in Ukraine, 4K engineers in Poland, and then 800 in other countries.
Yeah, that's my point. You guys have an advantage because you're in Ukraine. And folks, Magento, the engineers are mainly from Ukraine.
Yeah, a big part of the team was relocated to Austin when the acquisition happened. Yeah. However, we created this size and we grew this number of engineers because we had really close connections to Magento, the core team. We had meetups with them. We did a lot of contribution to the core and we were awarded by Adobe. That's how it happened historically.
Now, your LinkedIn profile says you're from Brooklyn, but I don't believe
Uh,
that you're in Brooklyn.
no, I'm not in Brooklyn. However, prior to the pandemic, I was traveling a lot and we opened up the representative office in Brooklyn, New York. We have people on the ground there because we understood at some point that we need to have people on the ground in each region where we are. And so we have people on the ground in Estonia, where we have our headquarters, then in Nordics, in Stockholm, because we have our sales office there, and in Brooklyn, New York. That's how it happened. And of course,
serve the American clients.
Yeah, and we have American clients. For example, we work with Hanes Brands, which is a big public company. We started to do a consulting project for one of the Fortune 100 clients. I can tell right now about the name of it, but that's one of the biggest consumer electronic brands in the world. And that's our American customer base.
Congratulations, especially all the craziness that's gone on in the last couple of years and in this war. Paul, is there a message that you want everyone to know?
It's very important to understand that it's still safe to work with Ukrainian people. When you work with companies from Ukraine, you support the economy definitely. And of course, you should understand that there are safer parts, the western part of the country. There are less fortunate people on the east. You need to consider the geography. But in general, though, the talent is very decent. And it's very good to support the economy and work with decent talent. Because at the end of the day, the war will end and the country and the economy will still evolve. The e-commerce consulting company, we don't focus on Magento right now. We have more platform offerings. We have Magento for mid-level business, and we have Salesforce Commerce Cloud for the upper enterprise segment of the customers. And our mission is to grow commerce for our partners. That's what we do, and that's what we are bringing up to our customer base.
Who's the ideal customer for eLogic?
The ideal customer is the merchant. That is the size of the revenue is $5+ million in the segments of consumer electronics, fashion, luxury and jewelry, or wholesale. Those are the industries we're stronger at. And that's the customer that is looking to grow steadily, because our approach is that we're not the project factory. We're more of the consultants that have experience, and we help our merchants to grow further. Because, for example, we have a customer that started with us when they had $5 million of revenue. Now they are acquired by Foot Locker and they're doing $150 million per year.
Wow. Hopefully they paid you a nice fee.
And that's the journey that we did together. It's not about themselves or us just attracting a big merchant. That's what we do.
Well, the best way to be able to help companies like yours in the Ukraine is to give them more business and have everyone grow together. And with something like e-commerce, it's fantastic. With Hanes and the electronics company and the other apparel companies, good job. My hats off to you.
And actually, we did this by putting up a lot of content. We were always really active in the e-commerce community. We were doing a lot of podcasts prior to that. I was speaking out on the conferences, and we even contributed to the Magento core. And for example, added the value to the platform that we started with by just so you know that there is now a possibility to manage multiple warehouses from the single instance, and that was our addition. We did the multi-source inventory plugin for the platform for free, and that's what we believe in: the synergy and win-win approach.
Wow, that is amazing. Do you know Paul Ryazanov by chance?
Yeah, I know him. He's a friend of mine, and we even did some business together some time ago.
Yeah, we hung out a number of times, and he's a big fan of the Golden State Warriors. The day before I came to speak at his conference, I was at the Warriors headquarters, and I got a bunch of basketballs and shirts and whatnot, and I brought them all the way to Kyiv, where I was speaking at his conference. And I think that was right before the big bombing that was 6 years ago. You remember?
Wow. The world is really small. He's located in one of Frankivsk right now. It's a few hours of driving from here.
Yeah. And then I was speaking at a conference in Romania, and he was in Bucharest, and he was there. It's a big e-commerce conference. And he surprised me with the jersey that instead of Steph Curry, it had my face and my number on me. I took a bunch of pictures of me and Paul, and he's educating lots of these young adults on e-commerce and using our techniques, using Facebook to be able to drive sales with e-commerce. So I thought that was really cool. And I've been keeping in touch with him ever since. Very, very small world. It was awesome spending time with you.
Indeed. And his approach is more focused on the marketing, and we're more savvy. For example, when the merchant with requirement of replatforming or something big comes in, they're more of the engineering and re-engineering the processes. But yeah, he has a wonderful company and yeah, he's supporting the country.
Yeah. I love what you guys are both doing. Him more on PPC and running ads and you on the engineering. That's fantastic. A lot of my friends run companies in the Ukraine. And funny thing is that the Americans in e-commerce are not quite as aware. They see Ukraine as a place to hire more of the freelancers as opposed to the very top talent.
That's because we never had really a lot of consulting companies in the e-commerce space. We were more on the engineering side, and even ourselves as a company, we transformed to doing that. So, for example, the pretty interesting story of how we attracted Haynes. They were looking for the content online, and they were struggling of doing this flash sale after the migration from Magento 1 to Magento 2.
Yeah.
And the store was failing, and the 1 point something of sales on one of their platforms. And they found an article of us doing stress tests. And we did the stress test. We showed them the bottlenecks. They were fixed. And after that, their store could handle 25K requests per minute. And the revenue increased 4 times. And that's a very easy output, economical. You can measure the value in numbers.
Yeah.
Instead of doing this
that's beautiful because you can measure everything with e-commerce. So it really doesn't matter if they're in America. A lot of our California friends are going to want to hire people in California, but I tell them the very best Magento, Salesforce, or other e-com folks are in Ukraine and Romania and these other places. Do you know Valentin Radu of OmniConvert?
No, I don't know him.
He's one of the top trainers.
Really?
A lot of training on e-commerce. Yeah, the customer lifetime value model and the software that mainly is like Shopify, but plugging in and doing automatic segmentation and optimization. So a very small world. I was in Romania 4 months ago. Yeah, 4 months ago in Bucharest. Hopefully things will settle down a little bit and maybe I can come see you.
Yeah, and actually it's pretty interesting because I bought tickets to United States because we were to meet with our customers. I wanted to go to Shop Talk as well.
Oh yeah, that was just last week.
Yeah, that was my plan to go to the conference, to hang out with some of our friends in California and to do a lot of meetings with our existing new prospects. And the lockdown changed everything.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, we're in our video studio here in Las Vegas. So if you go to a conference in the US, there's a high probability it's here in Las Vegas.
Yeah, I know. This award that we won from Magento in 2019. We received it on the stage of Win Las Vegas, where they had Magento Imagine conference. In 2019, it was the last Imagine they were doing because not right now it's Adobe Summit or something like that.
Yeah.
And that was the last in-face event they had. And we received an award there. It was a pretty cool time in Vegas.
Congratulations. Well, I would love for more of my American friends to be able to hear about you and see what an incredible opportunity is to work with our Ukrainian IT companies. How can people find out more about you?
Our website, it's pretty fluent, logic.co.
Fantastic.
Yeah, we have the whole team that is working on our website. We have the content team. We have the web designers and developers that are doing a lot of content pages and service pages. And even the team of 5 writers constantly working with our team to get expertise out to our blog.
That's incredible. Have you published any books?
Not yet. We're about to publish a replatforming white paper. I think it will be in a month or so. Yeah. That will be some kind of content that we'll be doing. And I was really active in the conference space, the conferences. For example, I was planning to attend, they have the Seamless Middle East conference. I was planning to speak there because for some reason, we started to get a lot of prospects from Middle East, and we didn't do anything intentionally for that. So, for example, we were reached out by the company called Mom's World. They're the biggest childcare products company in the whole MENA region. Right now, we're implementing a new headless strategy for them.
Sounds fancy. Well, if you want to publish an ebook or if you want to take your blog posts and turn them into some kind of lead magnet, one of my websites has 1 million organic visitors a month, freeebooks.net, and has a domain rank of 74.
Wow.
So that would be pretty good for SEO for you.
We're right now just 10K visitors online a month. But for example, if you Google Magento development company in the United States, we will be number 1.
Yeah.
So you can say CEO. And yeah, it would be very good to stay connected, definitely with the States, and hopefully the war will end. And yeah, we'll be reconnecting with the e-commerce world. My dad taught me when I was a child that when you don't know something, you need to adapt to it. And there were a few things that were a bit complicated for me. The first thing is that I was an engineer for some time. And at some point, I had to decide if I'm an entrepreneur or engineer. That was tough decision number one.
Yeah.
The tough decision number two was that I've thought at some point that great engineers can create great businesses. The engineering talent can beat the marketing and all the stuff. That's false. And I had to learn marketing. And even with our company, there's one book that changed my mind. So that's the book that is now it's about our business. It's Diversify or Die by Trout.
Okay.
So that was the book that I read 10 years ago or something like that. And that's why all the companies that I run are niche and should be focused on something. That's my biggest software company, and I run another software agency, which is focused on product development services using Python and React, and we're helping startups there. But it's exciting because, for example, we build a software for companies that are working with police departments and something.
Wow, that's incredible. I have the number one book right now on Amazon on social media.
Really?
Yeah. It's TikTok ads. Yeah.
Social media is huge.
Yeah. And it's number one in online advertising, number one in internet marketing, number one in social media guides, beats Gary Vaynerchuk. We have number one in all
Can
these.
you share the link?
I'll give you a link. And then my co-author has the number one book on Facebook advertising of all time, sold 500,000 copies. And then the number one book on Google Ads too, which for many, many years has sold many, many copies.
That's exciting.
So between us, we have all the top books on online advertising.
That's exciting because online advertising is another thing that I never believed I would need to dig into, because we were not covering the marketing. We're more on the strategy side than consulting right now, and then platform. Because prior to our transformation a few years ago, we were about engineering. And now we're doing full cycle. When the customer comes, we do the solution engineer and we do the consultant. And we never did online marketing on purpose because we understand that it's pretty different from different geography perspectives. And that's why we never did it. But then we came up to the point where we understood that we need to do the social media advertising and the Google advertising for our own website. Yeah. And that's how I started to learn marketing.
Yeah. Well, you should, if your people are not already doing it, they should implement the $1 a day strategy. That's the one that I came up with 14 years ago. You can target all the people that meet the criteria, 5 million in sales and whatnot, and people who are, VPs or above, or whatever the particular role is. Do it on LinkedIn, do it on Facebook, combine it with Clearbit or the other sorts of targeting. It's very, it's using social media networks, but doing B2B lead gen. All the stuff that's being created by your content team, you should run $1 a day against it. People see it, exactly the people you want to see it. And it even is starting to work on TikTok for B2B lead gen for IT companies, which is strange, but it works.
Yeah, for us, our website is the main channel. Then LinkedIn is huge. And we even started to do content marketing strategy for our LinkedIn profiles, for my own profile, our CTO's profile, our solution officer profile, and that's very important. Then I would say that we never ran Google Ads because it's too expensive for us. In this software consultancy, it's very expensive. And Facebook seems to be more personal. I'm not sure how Facebook would work with that, but LinkedIn for sure.
Facebook works because you're showing, if you have the right content, educational content, or snippets from podcasts.
Or white papers as well. They work.
And it's not directly selling, because you're selling at a higher tier, right? You're not selling things that are cheap. The stuff you're selling requires multiple touches. Building those relationships, we think that LinkedIn and Facebook are both very, very good at that. They work together.
And remarketing as well for people that are visiting your website. You should share useful content with them, and when they interact, the more they interact with your website, the better it is. Yeah.
Then you have the pixel that fires, the tag manager that fires all the other pixels and follows them around all over the place, including the LinkedIn pixel, which is kind of terrible for remarketing. But my friend AJ Wilcox is the number one person in the world for LinkedIn ads. He does a lot of software companies, and the techniques that he implements are actually very simple, but most IT companies don't use them.
for some reason, because most of the software companies, they are more on the technical side and they suck at marketing.
Yeah, they suck at making video. The key is you have to educate, and you have to interview these top customers. Maybe you interview, the senior vice president at Haynes and whatnot. It's not a testimonial, but it shows that you have a relationship with these other people, and that draws other Fortune 100 companies your way.
Yeah, because we were trying to put up the educational content on our YouTube channel, and it failed because in most situations, YouTube is still too narrow. Too narrow. It's too hard to target to narrow audience on YouTube. You need to do general marketing or general business content in order to attract the audience that you need.
Yeah. Well, LinkedIn has the data, those professional data that should do really well. So I think if whatever's working well for you organically, then you could put more money on the ads.
We even got a big prospect from Norway, from Reddit.
Oh, Reddit. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That's tough. You ran Reddit ads or organically on Reddit?
No, we were just commenting and putting up our comments on the Reddit comments.
Yeah.
That's how we got the customer. And he was the head of marketing at a big company.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's, by the way, they're doing wholesale, which is even weirder because wholesale customers, they're less tech savvy.
Wow. Well, I learned something new. I thought Reddit was more for the lower end engineers as opposed to
me either, but it works. And awesome. Even though we had a lot of prospects from conferences, and that's an interesting story because I was speaking at conferences, not because I wanted to be a speaker. It's just that when we just started as a company, we had no money to visit conferences. And I realized that it's when you're a speaker, it's for free to attend the conference. And I was coming up with interesting topics to engage with the owners of conferences to give speeches there. And it turned out that when you're a speaker, you don't have to go and meet leads. They'll come to you and talk to you after your speech.
That's smart. It's the best way. The 15 minutes after you're done speaking is always the most powerful time. It's Pac-Man with the power pellet.
Yeah, that's how it happened. And it was really interesting and really funny because I didn't expect that to happen at first, but that's how it turned out.
You can take snippets of all the speaking that you've done and repurpose that across other channels and turn them into blog posts and all of these.
Definitely. And to tell you the truth, we're just starting to do our marketing stuff. We never did it on the scale. Yeah. But that was because of the size. Even right now, we have this chief marketing officer who takes care of a lot of stuff. And we have a lot of people that carry the knowledge. They can transfer it to the blog posts. Yeah. And it's harder to do it when you are small.
You said you rank number 1 on Magento Development Company.
Yeah.
You moved up from 6 or position 2, Magento certifications. You're number 6 on Magento Development Services, Magento Developer Interview Support, Hire Big Commerce Developer, number 2. You have a lot of these. They're very strong, but some of these are just outside the first 3 or 4 results.
Yeah, because we started, it was a bit competitive to move there because we were investing a lot of money to links. Yeah. And right now we started to gain the top positions. And to tell you the truth, in our business, Magento Development Company is not the top word that we would rank for. Because, for example, when you want to target the enterprise customers, they would be more interested in long tail keywords, how to integrate Magento with Oracle ERP.
Yeah. Any of those ERP and enterprise terms, yeah, for sure. Very long tail. Yeah, migration. You're on position 10 now. Yeah. How does start a beauty supply store online?
That's a silly keywords that we were trying to rank for because the people that are looking to start a clothing store or the shoe online store or whatever, they're beginning and they're asking questions of the level, how can I start the business? You need to educate this lead, and we're more focused on the leads that have their structure, their size, and they just outgrown the small size of e-commerce business. And they're already mid-market to enterprise.
You have a lot of stock art. Why don't you have pictures of you and the team? Or maybe they just look stock art.
We did this on purpose. We rented the photographer who did the stock pictures of us and the team.
Oh, that is your team?
Yeah.
Okay. When you have a bunch of people that are smiling and pointing at a computer screen, I usually think it's fake,
Yeah, but we wanted to have the similar structure of photos because because that should interact with the style of our website. But yeah, those are real photos.
Oh, okay. That's very cool. I think you
Yeah,
should maybe test even having pictures and videos of you and your other team leaders,
we
especially
should.
because people think that you're initially judged guilty if you're from Eastern Europe. A lot of American clients will think these aren't real people. I don't really know who they are. So if you show who you really are, right, you're like judged guilty initially, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And not that speaking English natively is going to be a key requirement, but a lot of the enterprise people, they just don't know, right? They'll just automatically assume.
Yeah.
So
That's true.
people who are not competent will get hired by the Fortune 100 companies just because they met them at the conference and they share some kind of random interest instead of the people who actually are competent because
Yeah, in
of
our case, most of the big customers that we get them from either recommendations or very high-end content that we publish.
yeah. But imagine if you had the relationship side too. I think that'd be more effective than the Brooklyn sales office because people
For
could
sure.
see who you are. Because I think it's even in e-com where it's performance. I think people still make when it's a bigger company and it's an employee that's making the decision, they're going to go based on relationship, not based on who's more competent. And anyone who appears foreign, they're less to want to work with, even if that person's more competent.
Yeah, and I'll give you the story, which is a week old. I had a friend that we worked with when he was a marketing director at one company. Then he moved to the other company, and now he's the part of the C-level BigCommerce, which is another platform that we have competence in, but we're not really focusing on that because we're more in the engineering space and we're more focusing leaning towards Magento, Salesforce, Commerce Cloud. Now there's commerce tools, which we're trying to grow expertise with because that's something where we feel that technologically wise, it's very interesting. If you heard about this, have you heard about this German platform, Commerce Tools?
First tools, yeah, I've seen them, but I don't know much about them.
Yeah, their approach is slightly different. They're not a platform actually. They're the set of APIs and business logic. And if you are a merchant and you have a lot of different platforms, but just a bus to communicate between them, like between the content platform, between the mobile platform, and all that stuff. It's the bus of data.
Wow.
It's going to be huge.
Well, there you are. You'll have all the thought leadership content around that.
Yeah, and Salesforce is a different story. We just hired a few Salesforce Commerce Cloud people and we started to do work. But when we were really struggling for 3 years to become their partners because they told me that they didn't accept new partners since 2014.
Wow. Okay.
They're looking at companies like Accenture, the ones that can give them very big leads. And that's why they don't want to work with small to medium agencies at all. And by the way, we're partners of Accenture.
They probably sub the work out to you anyway, either way.
Yeah, because we're one of the biggest Magento agencies and they have some big Magento clients and that's how we cooperate. We do the delivery for them.
Have you taken or thought about taking your content and then using LinkedIn and Facebook and target people that work at Salesforce and Accenture so they can see your thought leadership content?
Not really.
That would work. I think it would work really, really well. It costs you almost.
Yeah, it's ABM approach, right?
Yeah. My friend John Miller is the one who we actually built his all the stuff from Marketo, the social campaigns and the online campaigns. And then he sold Marketo for a lot of money. And then he did other things with ABM.
I know Marketo because it's very interesting. Right now, it's a part of Adobe. And for example, in the United States, there is no Magento agencies that is owned by private people. Right now, it's a big company that acquired a lot of agencies. Why? Because they were working with Marketo, Adobe Experience Manager, and they wanted to add Magento expertise. And a few years ago, when they were acquired, we started to play in the game where you have to either become very big or you'll die. Or get acquired. We decided to step in and add expertise for Salesforce Commerce, AM, and to become a big agency instead of having like really narrow, small competence. That's how it works.
Well, I am one of your cheerleaders now.
Yeah, I really appreciate that you took this time to talk to me. I understand that you might be busy because still the business and there are still a lot of things going on, but it's about networking. It's really nice to meet you and probably we will meet in person when I come to States as well.
Yeah, when you come out here, let me know. Or maybe if I come out near you, I'm going to wait for things to settle down a little bit. I have a lot of friends.
Yeah, of course, definitely. And I'm always around because, in Ukraine, we have an office in Chernihiv. It's on the border to Romania. So I travel to Romania, Poland really often. For example, even prior to this whole war, I was in Bucharest because I have a lot of friends there. And I was visiting one of them and we went to Bucharest. It's a huge aqua place, with thermal waters.
Oh, I love taking baths. Yeah, hot
Yeah.
springs. Yeah, I should be in Bucharest later this summer if you're around. I'll be in Bucharest at least twice this year.
Yes, I'll definitely travel there because it's so real close by.
Okay. Awesome, Paul. It was a pleasure spending time together.
Thank you very much. Have a great day.
All right. Take care.